Welcome to Mythic Mundi. We live in a world of order, a world governed by laws, by economies, by the predictable rising and setting of the sun. But it was not always so. There was an age when the world was fractured, an age when gods and spirits still felt close to the earth, and the destiny of millions was decided not by parliaments, but by the clash of bronze and the will of extraordinary men. This was the spring and autumn period of ancient China, a time of chaos when a once great dynasty had crumbled, leaving behind a land of warring states, each vying for supremacy, each ruled by ambition and fear. Into this age of endless conflict, a shadow emerged from the mists of the north. He was a scholar, a philosopher, a recluse. But in his mind, he held a secret. He held a blueprint for victory, a treatise so profound, so devastatingly effective, that it would transcend time, strategy, and even war itself. His name was Sun Tzu, but history would come to know him by another title, Master Sun, Sun Tzu. Today on Mythic Mundi, we journey back 2,500 years to unravel the legend of the man who wrote The Art of War. This is not just a story of a general, it is the story of an idea that would shape the world.
The story of Sun Tzu begins not in glory, but in obscurity. He was born in the state of Qi, a powerful and cultured kingdom on the eastern coast. But Qi, like all states, was caught in the relentless turmoil of the era. Sun Tzu was a man of learning, a scholar who studied the ancient texts, the rites, and the histories. Yet his gaze was drawn to a different, darker subject, the study of conflict. In a time when battles were often decided by brute force, aristocratic codes of honor, or even the alignment of the stars, Sun Tzu saw something different. He saw a pattern. He saw a science. He believed that war, for all its chaos and brutality, was a thing that could be understood. It was a craft, an art, governed by rational principles. But the state of Qi was no longer a place for his ideas. Political intrigue and shifting loyalties forced Sun Tzu to flee his homeland. He journeyed south, a scholar in exile, carrying with him only his knowledge and the scrolls he had begun to write. He arrived in the rising kingdom of Wu, a rugged, ambitious state in the south, known for its fierce warriors and its deep rivalry with the mighty kingdom of Chu. Here, in the court of Wu, Sun Tzu lived in quiet seclusion, completing his life's work, a small bamboo scroll containing 13 chapters, a manuscript that would one day be known as The Art of War. He did not seek fame. He sought only to perfect his theories, but a mind like his could not remain hidden for long. His treatise found its way into the hands of Wu Zishu, a brilliant and driven minister of King Helu of Wu. Wu Zishu, himself a man who understood strategy and sacrifice, read the 13 chapters and was stunned. He saw in these words the very key to Wu's survival and its ultimate triumph over its rivals. He went before his king. "Your Majesty," he said, "I have read the words of a man named Sun Tzu. He is a true master. If you employ him, the state of Wu can conquer all." King Helu was skeptical. He was a practical ruler, a warrior king. He had seen many scholars who spoke in abstract philosophies. This master Sun, he writes about war, but has he ever commanded an army? Can a man who wields a brush also wield a sword? Wu Zishu was insistent. He understands the fundamental nature of conflict, Your Majesty. His principles are sound." The king relented. "Very well. Bring this master Sun to me. I will test him myself." And so Sun Tzu, the scholar in exile, was summoned from his quiet study and brought before the throne of Wu. He was no grand warrior in shining armor. He was a quiet, unassuming man, his eyes holding the depth of one who has spent a lifetime in contemplation. King Heilu looked at him and then at the bamboo scrolls. "I have read your 13 chapters, Master Sun," the king said, his voice echoing in the hall. "Your words are elegant. All warfare is based on deception. Subdue the enemy without fighting. These are compelling ideas, but they are only ideas. How do I know they have any practical use? How do I know you are not merely a philosopher?" Sun Tzu bowed slightly. "Knowledge without practice is useless, Your Majesty, and practice without knowledge is dangerous. My principles are not abstract. They are the laws of reality. They can be demonstrated." A flicker of interest entered the king's eyes. This was not the answer he expected. "Demonstrated? How? I cannot simply give you my army to test your theories. A single mistake could cost me my kingdom." Sun Tzu was silent for a moment. His gaze was steady. War is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. It is a matter of vital importance to the state. It cannot be entered into lightly. But its principles apply to all forms of organization, from the largest army to the smallest unit. The king leaned forward, intrigued. "A test, you say? Very well. I will give you a test, but not with my soldiers." The king smiled, a sly, dangerous smile. "In my palace, I have 180 palace ladies. They know only music, dance, and poetry. They have never held a spear. If your principles are as universal as you claim, then prove it. Take these women and turn them into a disciplined fighting unit." The court was silent. Wu Zishu's face paled. This was not a test. It was a mockery. To take untrained, high-born women and try to drill them as soldiers was an impossible, ridiculous task. It was designed to humiliate the scholar and send him away. King Heilu watched him, expecting the man to protest, to make excuses, to withdraw his claims. But Sun Tzu's expression did not change. He simply bowed again, deeper this time. "As your majesty commands, I accept." And with that, the scholar of Qi walked into the courtyard toward a test that would make his legend or end his career before it had even begun. The fate of his theories, and perhaps the future of the state of Wu, rested on what happened next. One can only imagine the scene in the royal courtyard. The 180 palace ladies, chosen for their beauty and grace, were assembled. They were adorned in silk, their faces painted, their laughter like the chiming of little bells. To them, this was amusing diversion from the monotony of court life. They whispered and giggled, looking at this strange, stern scholar who had been placed in command. King Heilu watched from a high terrace, his ministers beside him. He was ready to enjoy the show. Sun Tzu was all business. He did not raise his voice, he did not flatter or coddle, he addressed them as he would any soldiers. He divided the women into 2 companies. As leaders for each company, he appointed the king's 2 favorite concubines. These were women of great influence, accustomed to being obeyed, and perhaps the most amused of all. Sun Tzu had spears and halberds brought into the courtyard. He placed them before the women. Then he began to explain the drills. He was meticulous. He was clear. This is the command for forward. This is left turn. This is right turn. This is about face. Have you understood these commands?" The women, including the two favorites, nodded, though many were stifling their laughter. "Good," Sun Tzu said. "The rules of the army are clear. When the drum sounds, you will follow the commands. Failure to do so will have consequences. Discipline is the foundation of an army. Without it, there is only a mob." He had the drums brought out. He stood before them, his face as impassive as stone. He gave the order to the drummer. "Drum the signal for right turn." The drum beat its rhythm. The women in the courtyard dissolved into chaos. They laughed. They turned in circles. Some did not move at all. The two favorite concubines, in particular, looked at each other and burst into loud, unrestrained laughter, as if this was the most wonderful game. Sun Tzu waited for the noise to die down. His expression did not flicker. When the courtyard was quiet again, he spoke. His voice was not loud, but it cut through the air. "If the orders are not clear, if the commands are not understood, it is the fault of the general. I have failed to make myself clear." He then spent the next several minutes, painstakingly, clearly, and patiently explaining the drills once more. He had them repeat the commands back to him. He made certain that every single woman in the courtyard understood exactly what was expected. "Now," he said, "the orders are clear. The commands are understood. Is this correct?" The women, a little more subdued this time, agreed. "Very well," Sun Tzu said. "If the orders are clear, but the soldiers still fail to obey, the fault lies not with the general, but with the officers." His gaze moved to the two concubines he had appointed as leaders. They had stopped laughing. Sun Tzu turned to the drummer. "Signal left turn." The drums beat the command, and once again the lines broke. The women, perhaps out of habit, or perhaps believing the king's favor made them immune, began to giggle and falter. The two favorites, though their laughter was more nervous this time, made no effort to restore order. The drill was a failure. King Helü, watched from his terrace, began to look uncomfortable. This game was not as amusing as he had thought. Sun Tzu stood in the silence of the failed drill. The air in the courtyard had become heavy. He turned to the court executioners, who stood by with their heavy axes, a standard part of any royal proceeding. "The officers have failed in their duty," Sun Tzu stated, his voice devoid of emotion. "The law of the army has been broken. Seize the two commanding companies." The courtyard fell into silence so profound as if the world had stopped. The women's faces turned pale. This was no longer a game. The executioners, looking nervously at the king on his terrace, moved forward and took hold of the king's two favorite concubines. The women began to panic. From the terrace, King Helü shouted, "Stop, Master Sun! I am satisfied. I see that you understand discipline. You can have my army. These are my favorite women. Spare them."
This was the moment of decision. Sun Tzu could obey the king, save the women, and be dismissed as a fraud who bent the rules. Or he could prove his point. Sun Tzu turned and faced the high terrace. He bowed to his sovereign. "Your Majesty," he called out, "I have already received my commission as general. When a general is in the field, commanding his troops, there are some orders from the sovereign that he cannot accept." He turned back to the terrified women and the stunned executioners. A general must be absolute in his command. If he cannot enforce his own orders, he cannot lead. If discipline is not established with the officers, it will never be respected by the soldiers. The law must be applied. King Helü was desperate. He sent a messenger running down to the courtyard. "Stop him! Tell him the king commands it." But Sun Tzu ignored the messenger. He looked at the executioners, who were now trembling, caught between the king's authority and this new terrifying general. "Carry out the order," Sun Tzu commanded. And in the stunned silence of the royal court, the ultimate price for indiscipline was paid. It was a grim, stark, and terrible lesson. A wave of horror and understanding washed over the remaining women. They stood as if turned to stone, their faces slick with tears, but not a sound escaped their lips. Sun Tzu, his face still a mask, had the two next-ranking women appointed as the new officers. He turned to the drummer. "Begin the drills again," he said. The drum began to beat. "Right turn." The two companies of women moved as one. Their feet struck the ground in perfect unison. "Left turn." They pivoted, a single fluid entity. "Forward march." They moved with a precision that would have made the king's own royal guard proud. They were no longer palace ladies. They were soldiers. Sun Tzu sent a messenger to the king, who was still frozen on his terrace, his face a mask of shock and perhaps dawning respect. "The troops are now disciplined and ready, Your Majesty," the messenger reported. "They await your inspection. They can be sent through fire and water." King Helu waved the messenger away. He had lost his two favorite companions, but he had found something far more valuable. He had found a general. He had found the man who would lead Wu to greatness. This test, as harsh as it was, established the first and most important principle of Sun Tzu's philosophy. War is not a game. It is a serious business. It requires absolute seriousness, unbending discipline, and a clear understanding of stakes. Without this foundation, all the clever strategies in the world are meaningless. Sun Tzu had proven his point. Now, with the king's full confidence, he would put his other principles into practice. The 13 chapters of The Art of War are not a simple manual. They are a deep philosophical guide to conflict. Sun Tzu taught that the highest form of victory, the supreme excellence, is not to win 100 battles. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. This, he argued, is the pinnacle of strategy. To win before the battle is even joined. How? By understanding the universe of conflict. He taught laying plans, or G. Before you even consider moving a single soldier, you must calculate. You must sit in the temple and compare yourself to your enemy on 5 fundamental points. The way, meaning, does the populace follow the ruler? Heaven, the seasons, the weather. Earth, the terrain, the distances. The commander, his wisdom, his courage, his discipline. And method, organization, supply lines.
Sun Tzu taught that the victorious general is the one who, before the battle, calculates a win. The defeated general is the one who rushes into conflict and hopes for the best. He taught waging war, zuozan. He was one of the first to understand the economics of conflict. War is expensive. It drains the treasury, exhausts the people. A long, drawn-out war benefits no one. Therefore, victory must be swift. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare, he wrote. Seek a quick and decisive victory. Do not let your campaign drag on. He taught attack by stratagem, mo gun. This is the core of his win without fighting philosophy. The best thing is to take the enemy's state whole and intact. To shatter it is secondary. The best general is one who foils the enemy's plans, who disrupts his alliances, who attacks his strategy. Only if that fails do you attack his army. And the very worst policy? To besiege a walled city. That is a failure of imagination, a tactic of last resort. And then he gave the world his most famous and most misunderstood principle. All warfare is based on deception. This was revolutionary. In an age where aristocratic generals might still schedule battles on auspicious days and follow codes of chivalry, Sun Tzu was utterly pragmatic. When able, feign inability. When active, feign inactivity. When near, make the enemy believe you are far. When far, make him believe you are near. Offer bait to entice the enemy. Feign disorder and crush him. He taught that you must be formless. You must be like water. Water has no fixed shape. It adapts to the container. An army, he said, should be the same. It should adapt to the terrain, to the enemy, to the situation. The enemy should never know where you will strike or how. They should prepare for you on all sides, and in doing so, they will be weak everywhere. He taught the importance of maneuvering, junhing, and terrain, dihing. He urged generals to study the land as if it were a living thing. Is it open ground? Is it a narrow pass? Is it a death trap? The general who understands the terrain, he said, will be victorious. And finally, in a chapter that would echo through the intelligence communities of the world for millennia, he taught the use of spies, yang tian. Sun Tzu was ruthless in his pragmatism. He knew that knowledge was the ultimate weapon. What enables the wise sovereign and the good general to strike and conquer is foreknowledge. This knowledge, he said, cannot be gotten from spirits or from calculations of the stars. It must be gotten from other men, from men who know the enemy's situation. He detailed 5 types of spies: local spies, inward spies, converted spies, double agents, doomed spies, those you feed false information to, expecting them to be caught, and surviving spies, those who return with information. He called this the divine thread, the most essential faculty of the commander. To be willing to spend vast sums on spies, he argued, was the height of wisdom, for the information they brought could save millions in treasure and thousands of lives. These were the principles. They were not just a collection of tricks, they were a complete integrated system of thought, a philosophy that saw war as an interplay of opposites, of emptiness and fullness, of direct and indirect, of order and chaos. King Halu had not just hired a general, he had unleashed a new way of thinking upon the world. And the first to feel its effects would be the mighty kingdom of Chu.
Armed with the king's trust and his own unparalleled strategies, Sun Tzu was appointed general of the armies of Wu. He was no longer a mere theorist, he was a commander in the field. And his first target was the state his new master feared most, the colossal kingdom of Chu. Chu was a civilization unto itself, vast, wealthy, and ancient. On paper, the state of Wu was no match. To attack Chu directly would be like a river trying to flow uphill. It was suicide. This is where Sun Tzu's genius shone. He did not launch a massive head-on invasion. That was for lesser generals. Instead, he applied his principles. For years, Sun Tzu did not fight a single major battle. Instead, he waged a war of deception and exhaustion. He used his knowledge of attack by stratagem. He sent agents into the true court to sow discord, to whisper in the ears of ministers, to plant seeds of suspicion between the king of Chu and his most capable generals. He made Chu doubt its own strength. He used maneuvering and deception. He would divide his army into small, fast-moving units. One unit would appear on Chu's eastern border, forcing the massive Chu army to march to defend it. But when the Chu army arrived, they would find nothing. The Wu soldiers had vanished. Then, days later, another Wu force would appear on the western border, and the exhausted Chu army would be forced to march all the way back. Sun Tzu was like a phantom, a needle poking at a giant. He exhausted Chu. He drained its treasury, tired its soldiers, and frustrated its commanders, all without engaging in a costly fight. He was winning the war by making the enemy's life unbearable. This continued until the perfect moment. Sun Tzu, through his use of spies, knew the enemy was weary, disorganized, and poorly led. He knew their supply lines were stretched and their morale was low. Then, and only then, did he strike. In 506 BC, Sun Tzu, alongside King Halu and Wu Zixu, launched a daring, lightning-fast invasion. It was the culmination of all his planning. He did not just march, he flowed like water, bypassing heavily fortified cities and striking at the enemy's weak points. In a series of 5 brilliant battles, the Wu army, led by Sun Tzu's strategies, shattered the great army of Chu. They moved with a speed the world had never seen, and in less than a year, they had done the impossible. They had marched all the way to Ying, the capital of Chu. The king of Chu was forced to flee, a refugee from his own kingdom. It was one of the most spectacular victories in ancient history. The small state of Wu had humbled the giant of Chu. Sun Tzu had proven, on the grandest possible stage, that his principles were not just theories, they were the keys to victory. He had shown the world that a calculating mind was more powerful than a million spears. He had taught that the true art of war was not in fighting, but in winning. And then, after this staggering success, Sun Tzu vanishes. This is perhaps the most mythic part of his story. After leading Wu to the zenith of its power, the man who had perfected the art of war simply disappears from the historical record. His departure is as formless and sudden as one of his own strategies. What happened to Master Sun? Did he, having proven his theories and seen the terrible reality of their application, simply retire from the world? Did he return to his scholarly seclusion, content to let his book speak for him? Or did he, as some darker legends suggest, fall victim to the very court intrigue he had so expertly manipulated in others? Wu Zixu, his original sponsor, would later meet a tragic end at the hands of the next king of Wu. Perhaps Sun Tzu saw the shifting political winds and, applying his own principle of knowing when to advance and when to retreat, simply walked away. We will never know. In a way, it is the perfect ending for a man who prized formlessness and mystery. He became a legend, his life dissolving into the very mists from which he first emerged. But his ideas became immortal. The art of war survived. It was copied onto bamboo strips, hidden by scholars and passed down from generation to generation. His legacy is not written in grand monuments or in a royal tomb. His legacy is a living text. During the Three Kingdoms period, the great warlord Cao Cao, himself a brilliant strategist, wrote one of the first and most important commentaries on Sun Tzu's work, finding in its ancient words the solutions to his own modern problems. In Japan, the book became a treasured text among the samurai, shaping their codes of strategy and honor. And in Europe, centuries later, a French translation found its way into the hands of Napoleon Bonaparte, who reportedly studied its pages as he conquered a continent. And in the modern age, Sun Tzu's reach expanded beyond the battlefield. His 13 chapters became required reading in military academies from West Point to Sandhurst. But more than that, they were discovered by a new kind of warrior, the leaders of the modern world. Business executives saw the marketplace as a battlefield. They read The Art of War to learn how to outmaneuver competitors, how to capture a market without destroying it, and how to use foreknowledge, market research, to win. Lawyers used his strategies of attacking the enemy's alliances in the courtroom. Coaches used his principles of knowing yourself and knowing your enemy to win on the sports field. Sun Tzu's wisdom became universal. He had written a book about how to win a war, but in doing so, he had written a book about how to navigate any human conflict. His is a timeless philosophy: to plan meticulously, to know yourself, to understand your opponent, to be adaptable, to be fluid, to be like water, to understand the cost of conflict, and to value, above all else, the wisdom of winning without a fight. Over 2,500 years ago, in an age of bronze and blood, a man named Sun Tzu dared to believe that chaos could be understood. He sat down to write a guide for his king, a manual on how to survive. He ended up writing a manual for humanity. He was the scholar from Qi, the general of Wu, the man who humbled an empire. He is Sun Tzu, the master of war, and his echo endures, as quiet, as powerful, and as inescapable as the art of strategy itself. The story of Sun Tzu is the story of an idea that changed how we think about conflict. But history is filled with such masters and mysteries. What story would you like Mythic Mundi to explore next? Is there a hidden legend, a forgotten master, or a mythical artifact you want us to investigate? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Mythic Mundi for more stories, and comment with your thoughts. Your support helps us continue to unravel the myths of our world. Thank you for joining us.